I had been dating Mia for 2 years and was completely in love with her, despite the unique reality of our relationship. She was a conjoined twin, connected at the torso to her sister, Lily. They shared some organs but had their own heads, arms, and one leg each. Their entire lives had been a masterclass in coordination, learning to walk and move as one with incredible grace. When I first saw Mia at a coffee shop, I was drawn to her beauty and humor. I asked for her number, and she looked pleasantly surprised by my interest. At the time, I naively believed their conjoinment wouldn't be a significant issue. But after 2 years, the complexities were inescapable. Every intimate moment involved 3 people. Our first kiss happened with Lily right there, her head turned away and headphones on, but her physical presence was undeniable. As our relationship became more physical, the situation grew even more complicated. Lily would close her eyes and try to sleep, but she was always there. I learned to pretend she didn't exist while being hyper-aware that she absolutely did. Social outings were a logistical puzzle. A simple dinner meant a table for 3 and agreeing on food, as a trip to the restroom required both sisters to go. I learned their intricate schedule for sleeping, eating, and showering. Once, when Mia wanted to stay up late watching a movie with me, Lily grew angry from exhaustion, sparking a huge fight that left me feeling helpless on the sidelines. My friends asked invasive questions I didn't want to answer, and my parents, while trying to be supportive, clearly found the relationship strange. My mom asked if I had thought about the long-term future, and I had no answer. Spontaneous trips or quiet weekends alone with Mia were impossible. Every plan included Lily. Every decision had to work for both. When one was sick or in a bad mood, it affected the other, and my time with Mia. I began to understand I wasn't just dating Mia. I was in a relationship with both of them, never getting a single second alone with the woman I loved. Despite it all, I decided my love for Mia was worth any complication. I was even looking at rings, ready to spend my life with her. Then one night, everything changed. We were watching TV at their apartment when Mia fell asleep on the couch. Lily looked over at me and whispered, "Can we talk while she's asleep?" I nodded, keeping my voice low. "What's up?" Lily looked nervous. "I need to tell you something. I've been researching separation surgery." My stomach dropped. "What?" She spoke faster, her voice barely a whisper. "Medical technology has improved so much. I've been emailing doctors, and they think our specific connection might be separable now. We don't share as many vital organs as they originally thought." I was speechless. She continued, "I want to do it. I want to try to separate from Mia." I glanced at Mia to ensure she was still asleep. "Does Mia know you're thinking about this?" Lily shook her head. "She's always been against it. She thinks the risk is too high, and it is high. We could die, but I can't do this anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. "I love my sister, but I can't spend my entire life attached to someone else. I can't watch you two get married and have kids while I'm just always there. I deserve a chance at my own happiness, too." I felt sick. "Lily, I don't know what to say." She grabbed my hand. "I need you to help me convince Mia. She listens to you. She loves you. If you tell her this is what's best, she might actually consider it." I pulled my hand away. "You're asking me to convince the woman I love to do something that could kill her." "I'm asking you to help me have a life," she pleaded. "And if we separate and survive, you could have a normal relationship with Mia. Isn't that what you want?" I stood up and walked to the window. Separation would solve everything. I could be with Mia alone, but pushing for this could mean losing her forever. I turned around, the choice feeling terrifyingly obvious. "I want you to do it." The words had barely left my mouth when I saw Mia's head move on the couch. Her eyes opened slowly, blinking in the dim light. Her gaze landed on Lily's tear-streaked face, then shifted to me. Understanding dawned on her features, cold and sharp. She knew Mia sat up fast, her movement causing Lily's body to shift in their practiced, synchronized way. Her voice was cold and sharp. "What were you discussing?" Lily opened her mouth to answer, but Mia cut her off, her eyes locked on mine with a look that made me want to disappear. "Were you talking about separation surgery behind my back while I was asleep?" I tried to speak, but my throat tightened. There was no way to make this sound less terrible than it was. The apartment seemed to shrink as Mia started yelling, her voice filling every corner. Lily tried to explain her right to her own life, but Mia's voice only grew louder. "Wanting to risk both, oh. Her lives isn't about rights, it's about being selfish." They fought while physically attached, their shared torso turning as they faced each other, a lifetime of coordination, now a conduit for anger. I stood frozen by the window, watching the bomb I had set off detonate in the middle of their lives. Mia turned her fury on me. "How could you encourage this? How could you tell Lily to do something that might kill me?" I started to explain that Lily deserved independence, but Mia saw right through me. She accused me of wanting to change her, of never truly accepting their situation. Tears streamed down her face as she asked if I'd spent the last 2 years wishing she was different, wishing she was normal. I wanted to deny it, but I couldn't. Part of what she said was true, and we both knew it. Lily jumped to my defense through her own tears, insisting this was about her need for control over her own life. But Mia wasn't listening. She told Lily they had been fine their whole lives, that separation surgery was far too dangerous, that wanting to be apart was the same as wanting one or both of them dead. The sisters sobbed while connected, their shared torso moving with each ragged breath. I had created an absolute nightmare. The fight lasted over an hour, leaving their voices hoarse and their emotions spent. Finally, Mia said that if Lily was serious, they needed actual medical information, not just internet research. Lily agreed immediately, relief flashing across her face that Mia was at least willing to consult doctors. Then Mia looked at me, her eyes full of hurt. "You don't get to be part of these conversations anymore. You've already picked Lily's side over my safety." Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. I left their apartment and the elevator ride down felt eternal. At home, sleep wouldn't come. Mia's betrayed and fearful expression played on a loop in my mind. I texted her an apology around 2 a.m., but she didn't respond. I lay in the dark, wondering if I had just destroyed the best relationship I'd ever had for the chance at a normal one. 3 days passed with almost no contact from Mia, the distance between us growing palpable. My friend Luke called and I told him everything. He listened, then asked me point blank, "Did you encourage Lily because you wanted Mia to yourself?" I tried to answer, but I couldn't. I honestly didn't know my own reasons anymore. A few days later, a text from Lily arrived. They had a consultation scheduled with a surgeon, Ashlyn O'Ford, who specialized in conjoined twins. She explained that Mia said I should be there since I was so invested. The message felt cold and distant. I knew Mia was still furious, but I texted back that I would go. I needed to face what I had helped start. The night before the consultation, I lay awake, torn. Part of me wanted the doctor to say it was impossible, so we could return to how things were. But another part remembered Lily's face when she spoke of deserving her own happiness. I was caught between the two sisters I cared about, starting to understand I never should have taken a side at all. The consultation was on a Thursday morning in a sterile downtown medical building. I picked up Mia and Lily, and the drive over was silent, the radio playing a pop song neither seemed to hear. They moved from their door to my car with their fluid, coordinated grace, folding their shared body into the passenger seat. Lily stared out the window. Mia checked her phone as if looking for a reason to cancel. In the waiting room with its uncomfortable chairs and unread magazines, the tension was thick. A nurse called them back after 10 minutes. I followed as they moved down the hallway, their single shared leg and two outer legs working in perfect rhythm. Dr. Ashlyn O'Ford's office was cold and white, dominated by a large desk and a wall-mounted computer screen. She was younger than I'd expected, with dark hair pulled back and serious glasses. She shook hands with both sisters and gestured to a wide chair positioned for them. I took a regular seat off to the side. Ashlyn pulled up scans of their bodies on the screen, using a pointer to trace the areas where their organs were shared. She spoke in a stream of medical terms about liver tissue, digestive systems, and interconnected blood vessels. Mia's hand gripped the armrest, her knuckles white. Lily leaned forward, pulling Mia slightly with the movement, hanging on every word as if it were a path to freedom. The doctor explained their specific type of connection, the surgical approach, and the operation's staggering length. Then she reached the risks. Her voice remained calm and professional as she delivered the statistics. Roughly a 60% chance both would survive the surgery and recovery, a 30% chance one would die during the operation or from complications shortly after, a 10% chance they would both die on the operating table. I watched the color drain from Mia's face, Lily's expression. I remained stoic, but I saw her swallow hard. The room fell into a profound, heavy silence. Mia's hand found Lily's and their fingers intertwined while their bodies remained connected. Ashlyn continued, explaining that even with success, they faced months of painful recovery, risks of infection and organ failure, and likely more surgeries. She revealed they would have to decide which sister received which portions of their shared organs, a brutal choice determining who had the better chance at normal function afterward. Lily asked, her voice almost a whisper, what quality of life they could expect if the surgery worked. Ashlyn was brutally honest. Both would have major permanent physical challenges, needing wheelchairs or walkers and lifelong medical care. Mia let out a sound that was almost a laugh. "We already face those challenges every day," she said, "but at least right now we're both alive and together." The appointment lasted an hour. Ashlyn gave them folders full of information to review and told them to call when they were ready to decide. We walked back to the car in silence. The drive home felt longer, the twins pressed together in the passenger seat, saying nothing. I tried to suggest lunch, but Mia cut me off sharply. "I need time to process what we just heard." I dropped them at their apartment. They moved inside together without looking back. Over the next week, life carried on in its strange rhythm, but the monumental decision hung over us all. I came over for breakfast one morning and watched them negotiate what to eat. Mia wanted cereal, Lily wanted toast. After a few minutes of tense back and forth, they settled on scrambled eggs that neither seemed excited about. They moved through their apartment with their practiced ease, but now I noticed the small, simmering frustrations that must have built up over 26 years. Lily wanted to paint, but Mia had a work call, forcing Lily to sit and wait. Mia wanted to watch TV, but Lily was reading and grew annoyed by the noise. They worked it out as they always did, but the tension was palpable on both their faces. Few days later, Mia finally agreed to talk to me alone. We met at a coffee shop, Lily sitting with us but wearing headphones and turned away to grant us a semblance of privacy. Mia stirred her coffee without drinking it. She told me she felt betrayed that I had discussed something so serious with Lily before including her. "It made me feel like you didn't value my life or our relationship," she said. I apologized and tried to explain, but she stopped me. The worst part, she confessed, was that she could now see Lily's point. Her sister deserved a chance at her own life, and she hated that I had been the one to make her see it because now she couldn't unsee it. At evening, I went to their apartment for dinner. The tension was immediate. After the meal, Lily said she wanted to take a bath, and Mia's whole body went rigid. "I'm exhausted, I need to sleep," Mia countered. They started arguing right in front of me, their voices rising until they finally settled on a shower, a compromise that left neither satisfied. I saw a flash of raw resentment on both their faces before they masked it and moved toward the bathroom together. In that moment, I truly understood the daily prison Lily lived in. A few days later, Dr. Ashlyn called. She explained they needed to meet with a medical ethicist, Ryder Shepard, for psychological evaluations to ensure they fully understood the risks. Mia looked relieved by this new hurdle. Lily looked frustrated but agreed. Session with Ryder felt more like a living room than a medical office. He was a calm man in his 50s whose demeanor made you feel judged. He met with each sister separately first. When it was my turn, he asked me directly why I had told Lily to pursue the surgery. I gave him a rehearsed answer about Lily's independence, but he kept pushing until I finally admitted the ugly truth. I wanted a normal relationship with Mia without Lily always there. The words hung in the air, shameful and stark. Ryder leaned back. "Have you considered what happens if Mia never forgives you for supporting something that could kill her sister?" The question hit me like ice water. I hadn't. "Your desire for a normal relationship," he continued, "might actually destroy any chance of having one at all." I left his office feeling shaky and sick, the ground beneath me no longer solid. The next appointment was with all three of us. Sitting in a circle on the comfortable couches, Ryder guided a conversation that quickly became heavy. Lily spoke about feeling like she had disappeared into being half of the twins, that she had never made a single decision that was just hers. Mia cried as Lily talked, saying she was terrified of losing her sister but also scared of holding her back. Then Ryder turned to me. I had to admit in front of both of them that my encouragement had been partly selfish, that I wanted me. To myself, saying it aloud in that room felt like being dunked in ice water. Mia looked at me with profound hurt. Lily reached over to squeeze my hand, but I felt like the worst person in the world. After 2 raw, exhausting hours, we were all emotionally spent. At night, Mia asked me to stay over. Lying in their bed in the dark with Lily asleep beside her, Mia whispered, "I don't know how to make this decision." She said choosing to risk their lives felt impossible, but so did telling Lily no for the rest of their lives. I held her hand and apologized for making everything harder. She was quiet for a long time before saying, "Maybe you just forced us to have a conversation we should have had years ago." I didn't know if it was forgiveness or just her trying to make sense of the mess I'd helped create. 2 days later, I was at their apartment when their parents called. Mia put the phone on speaker. Their mother's voice was upset, pleading with them not to go through with the surgery, saying the risk was too high and she couldn't lose either of her daughters. Their father, quieter, voiced his worry, asking if they had truly thought it through. Lily tried to explain her need for independence, but her mother cut her off. "I don't understand why being together is so terrible when you've been fine your whole lives." I watched Lily's face crumple as if she'd been slapped. Mia jumped to her defense, saying it wasn't about their connection being terrible, but about Lily deserving choices. Their mother began to cry, their father tried to calm everyone, but the conversation only grew more painful. After they hung up, the sisters sat on the couch in silence for a long time, their bodies pressed together but looking more separate than I had ever seen them. Next evening, Luke showed up at my apartment unannounced and found me with a half-empty bottle of whiskey. He sat next to me and asked what I would do if the twins decided to go through with the surgery. I realized I had no answer. I hadn't let myself think that far ahead. "Could you really watch Mia go into an operating room knowing she might not come out alive?" he asked. The question made my stomach turn. Luke said I was in too deep to back out now, that I was part of this decision whether I wanted to be or not. The weight of that responsibility felt like it was crushing my chest. A few days later, I found the twins having a serious conversation at their kitchen table. They invited me to sit. Lily explained they had been talking about their childhood and all the things they had each given up. Mia's voice was soft as she admitted she had always felt guilty about the times Lily couldn't do things because of their situation. She brought up how Lily had wanted to try out for the track team in high school but couldn't because Mia wasn't athletic. It was a story I'd never heard, and it shifted my perspective on their entire lives, all the small sacrifices that had built up over 26 years. Lily then shared memories she had kept hidden. She described lying awake as a teenager, imagining what it would feel like to walk alone, to dance without coordinating every movement, to have a private conversation. Her voice grew thick with emotion. Mia started crying, saying she never knew Lily felt so trapped. Lily explained she had hidden those feelings because she didn't want to make Mia feel bad about something neither of them could control. They held hands as they talked, and I felt I was witnessing something profoundly private and important. The real, heartbreaking weight of what separation would mean for both of them. That same week, my mother called after I finally told her everything. Her voice was worried. "How involved are you in such a serious medical decision?" she asked. "Are you prepared for the guilt you will feel if something goes wrong?" I tried to say I was just supporting them, but she cut through my excuse. "There's no outcome where you won't carry some responsibility for what happens next." Her words stuck with me for days. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw different versions of how this could go wrong, and in every one I was to blame. Twins had another appointment, this time with Jacine Merritt, a physical therapist who worked with separated conjoined twins. Her office was full of equipment and exercise mats. Jacine was kind but brutally honest. She explained that recovery would be agonizing, with months spent learning to balance and move on their own after a lifetime of coordination. She showed us videos of other patients struggling to take single steps, falling over and over. Both sisters went quiet, and I saw genuine doubt cross their faces for the first time. Jacine didn't sugarcoat the pain, frustration, and long road ahead. The reality of what they were considering hit all of us with staggering force. That evening, back at their apartment, a fight erupted over Cadden Mahoney, Lily's online friend who had been encouraging her to pursue SEP. Ration, Mia's voice turned sharp. "He doesn't understand our situation and is pushing you toward a dangerous decision without facing any consequences." Lily defended him. "At least someone supports my right to choose my own path instead of just being scared all the time." Their voices escalated as I stood helplessly at the stove, stirring pasta. Mia accused Lily of listening to a stranger over her own sister. Lily shot back that Mia was trying to control her life out of fear. The argument built until they were both sobbing, their connected bodies shaking together. I watched them collapse onto the couch, emotionally spent, and turned off the stove. None of us were eating dinner that night. A few days later, I was at their apartment when Mia had a work video call. They moved into the bedroom together, but Lily came back out about 10 minutes later, moving carefully on her own while Mia stayed connected but out of view in the bedroom. Lily sat next to me on the couch, her hands shaking slightly as she opened her sketchbook. I asked if she was okay. She nodded but didn't look up. After a minute of silence, she spoke, her voice so quiet I had to lean in. She told me she'd been having dreams every night since talking to the doctors, dreams where she walked alone through a grocery store and no one stared. In the dream, she could reach for anything on the shelves without checking if Mia could reach it too. She could turn her head without thinking how it would pull on her sister's body. Her voice grew thick as she described picking out clothes by herself, clothes she liked without ensuring Mia liked them too. She described sitting alone in a coffee shop with a book, nobody attached to her, just herself and her thoughts for one full hour. As she talked, she sketched a single figure walking down a street with both legs working. She looked up, tears in her eyes. "I know the surgery is dangerous, I know I might die, but I can't stop thinking about what it would feel like to be just myself." The raw longing in her voice made my chest ache. I finally understood this wasn't about me and Mia at all. I reached over and squeezed her hand, telling her I understood, even though the thought of her risking everything still made me feel sick. Next morning, Mia called me, sounding stressed. The hospital administrator had contacted them about the financial side of the surgery. I drove over to find both sisters at their kitchen table, surrounded by papers and an open laptop displaying a spreadsheet. The administrator had sent a cost breakdown. Even with insurance, the bills could reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mia pointed to line items for the surgical team, operating room time, ICU stays, and follow-up care. Lily's face was pale as she scrolled through pages of medical codes. The administrator had been clear. Insurance might not approve the procedure at all, deeming it too experimental and risky. They would have to build a case proving that being conjoined was causing serious, measurable medical problems, not just social or emotional difficulties. Lily started crying. "I don't know how to prove that wanting to be my own person counts as medical necessity." We sat there, the financial reality making everything feel more impossible than ever. The twins spent the next week gathering every medical record they'd ever had. I helped most evenings, sorting through files that went back to their infancy. We found records of infections caused by the difficulty of keeping their connected bodies clean, notes from when Lily couldn't join the swim team because Mia got ear infections, and documentation of how they both got pneumonia at 16 because when one got sick, the other always did. They wrote statements about every canceled plan, every mobility challenge, every fall, every job opportunity missed because employers didn't know how to handle conjoined twins. Lily wrote about missing job opportunities. Mia documented their chronic back pain. By the end of the week, they had a file over 200 pages long. Reading it was heartbreaking. Their entire lives had been reduced to a list of problems and medical complications. Seeing it all written out made me realize the immense burden they had carried every single day. During those days of paperwork, I began to notice the profound, beautiful symbiosis between the sisters, a depth I had somehow missed in 2 years. I was at their apartment when Lily stumbled, getting up from the couch. Mia's hand shot out automatically to steady her before I even registered the movement. Their bodies moved in a seamless, synchronized dance they no longer had to think about. Later that week, I watched Lily reach for Mia's hand when a difficult memory surfaced in the documents, and Mia squeezed back without looking, both drawing comfort from a touch that had been their constant their entire lives. They had a lexicon of inside jokes and childhood references that made them both laugh in the middle of CR. Ying over medical records. One night, Lily started a sentence and Mia finished it, and they both cracked up because they'd done it again. I saw how Mia knew exactly when Lily needed a break before she said anything, and how Lily could sense Mia's overwhelm just from a slight tension in their shared body. They had been together every second of their lives and knew each other in ways no one else ever could. I started lying awake at night, wondering if separation would destroy something irreplaceably beautiful, even as it offered the independence they craved. I didn't know if splitting them apart was worth losing the profound connection they shared. 2 weeks into the insurance battle, Ryder called for another session, this time with just Lily. Driving her to his office, I realized this was one of the few times I'd been alone with her outside their apartment. After over an hour, she came out, her eyes red but her demeanor calmer. On the drive home, she told me Ryder had pushed her to articulate her reasons beyond my relationship with Mia. She had opened up about feeling she'd never discovered who she was as her own person, that every choice was filtered through what worked for both of them. Told him about wanting to study art, but Mia's seasickness preventing trips overseas to the galleries where she wanted to learn. She admitted she sometimes just wanted 1 hour alone with her own thoughts, 1 hour not sharing physical space. Lily said Ryder had asked what she would do if separated, and she described secret plans she'd been making for months, applying to art school, maybe moving to a different city, trying to live alone and figure out who she was without Mia. Her words made it devastatingly clear this was about so much more than my relationship, and I felt foolish for my selfish, limited perspective. At night, I couldn't sleep, haunted by Lily's conversation. I had viewed this entire situation through the lens of how it affected me. I had encouraged the surgery partly because I wanted Mia to myself, not because I truly understood Lily's suffering. The shame of my selfishness was a heavy weight. I realized I had treated Lily as an obstacle, not a person. She deserved her own life and choices, and my reasons for supporting the surgery had been wrong. Next day, I asked to meet them both. We sat in their living room, and I took a deep breath before confessing. I told them I had been wrong to encourage the surgery for my own reasons. I admitted that part of why I'd supported it was because I wanted a normal relationship with Mia, one with just the two of us. I hadn't really thought about Lily as her own person with her own needs until recently, I said, my voice shaking. My perspective was limited and selfish. I told them I still didn't know what the right answer was, but that I wanted to support whatever they decided without pushing my own agenda anymore. It was the first fully honest conversation we'd had since this began, and I felt lighter afterward. Mia reached over and took my hand. I appreciate you being real with us finally, she said. Lily nodded, adding that knowing where I truly stood made it easier to trust me going forward. 3 weeks after submitting the massive appeal, the insurance company sent their decision. I was at work when Mia called, crying so hard I could barely understand her. The insurance had denied the appeal, calling the surgery too experimental and risky. They would not cover it. Left work immediately and drove to their apartment. I found both sisters on the couch, holding each other. Lily was crying in huge, shaking sobs that rattled both their bodies. Mia held her sister, her own face a mask of conflicted relief and shared pain. They showed me the letter stating the procedure was not medically necessary, since they were currently healthy and stable. The letter suggested they could appeal again or pay the nearly $1 million themselves. Lily kept saying, "It's not fair," over and over. I sat with them, powerless. The insurance denial felt like an insurmountable wall. Watching Lily's hope shatter made my chest ache with a profound helplessness. The days following the insurance denial were the hardest yet. I visited their apartment and found them watching TV in complete silence, their bodies pressed together on the couch in the same configuration they'd known their whole lives. Neither looked at me when I came in. The air was heavy with a shared, profound disappointment. I sat with them for a while, but my presence offered no comfort, and I eventually left. Mia texted me that night saying she had tried to talk to Lily about dropping the idea of surgery, but Lily wouldn't discuss it. "I can feel her body tense every time I bring it up," Mia wrote. "I can feel the disappointment radiating through our connection." Their ability to sense each other's emotions, once a testament to their bond, was now a source of amplified pain. Mia confessed she didn't know how to help Lily, and I had no answers for her. Week after the denial, Luke and I met for dinner. He asked how I was holding up, and I admitted I was exhausted and scared about what came next, regardless of their decision. He listened, then said something that surprised me. He pointed out that I had changed since this all started, that I seemed more aware of other people's needs and less focused on my own desires. The guy who started dating Mia 2 years ago probably wouldn't have been able to handle any of this, he said. You've grown up a lot. His words made me realize this impossible situation had forced me to see beyond myself. I told him I still didn't know if I'd done the right thing, but at least I now understood why Lily wanted what she wanted. That's growth, Luke said. Maybe that's all any of us can hope for. A few days later, Lily texted, asking if I could drive her and Mia somewhere on Saturday morning. She didn't explain why, only that it was important. I showed up at 9 a.m. to find them both dressed and looking nervous. Lily handed me an address for a community center across town. In the car, she explained she had found a support group for families dealing with conjoined twin situations, run by a woman named Hala Salolter, who had conjoined twins of her own. Mia was quiet, staring out the window, clearly uncertain about this new step. Community center was a plain brick building. Inside, about 10 people sat in a circle of chairs. Hala greeted us warmly. We listened as people shared their stories, the challenges, the medical complications, the small victories. Then an older couple, conjoined twins in their 40s connected at the torso much like Mia and Lily, stood up. They spoke about their decision to never pursue separation. They had built a happy life together, running a business, traveling, and maintaining relationships. Being conjoined is just part of who we are, one sister said, not something that needs to be fixed. I watched Mia and Lily absorb this. Mia looked relieved, finding validation for her fears. Lily looked thoughtful but frustrated, as if thinking that what worked for this couple wasn't necessarily right for her. After the meeting, Hala pulled me aside. She told me that loving someone in this situation meant accepting there were no easy answers. The best thing you can do is support whatever decision they make without pushing your own agenda, she said. Her words resonated deeply, highlighting a failure I was already trying to atone for. On the drive home, the twins were quiet for the first 10 minutes. Then Mia turned to Lily, her voice soft and careful. I've been thinking about what you told me, she said. About feeling trapped. She admitted she had been so focused on the risks that she hadn't truly listened to how much Lily was struggling. Lily's eyes filled with tears, and she reached for Mia's hand. Mia continued, her voice shaking but determined. Maybe we should try to appeal the insurance decision one more time. Maybe we should at least explore all our options before giving up. Lily looked shocked. Are you serious? Mia nodded, tears now streaming down her own face. I can't promise I won't be scared. I'm terrified, but I love you too much to hold you back from the life you deserve. If there's a real chance, we should try to make it happen. Lily began to cry harder, and so did Mia. I had to pull the car over because I was crying too. In the passenger seat, the two of them held each other, their bodies pressed together as they had been for 26 years. The love between them in that moment was so powerful it was almost tangible. It was no longer about me or my relationship with Mia. It was about two sisters trying to figure out how to give each other what they needed, even when it was utterly terrifying. After a few minutes, we drove the rest of the way home in a different, more hopeful kind of silence. Something fundamental had shifted between all three of us. The next week, the twins connected with Sarah, a tough, no-nonsense patient advocate at the hospital who specialized in insurance appeals. She reviewed the denial and declared the insurance company's reasoning weak. There's definitely a case to be made for medical necessity, she stated. She outlined a new strategy. They needed detailed letters from all their doctors explaining why separation was crucial for their physical and psychological health. Twins reached out to Dr. Ashlyn, Ryder, and Jassin, requesting supporting letters. I helped them organize the mountain of medical records and documentation, spending hours at their apartment making copies and compiling evidence. For the first time, I felt useful in a way that wasn't tainted by my own selfish desires. I wasn't pushing them toward surgery. I was simply helping them gather information so they could make their own informed choice. The process took weeks of phone calls, paperwork, and agonizing waiting. Sarah submit. The massive appeal packet, brimming with doctors' letters, detailed descriptions of their daily challenges, and research on successful separations. Then we waited. The waiting was brutal. Every day, the twins checked their mail and email, hoping for news. Every day, there was nothing. I watched them navigate their normal routines with this monumental decision hanging over them, and I began to understand the sheer courage it took just to keep living while facing something so terrifying. During those weeks of waiting, I spent more time at their apartment than ever and witnessed the constant, grinding negotiations of their shared life in stark relief. I saw them coordinate bathroom schedules each morning, negotiating who needed to go first. I watched them settle on a dinner neither wanted because one craved pasta and the other stir-fry. One afternoon, Mia, feeling restless, wanted to go for a walk, but Lily was in a creative flow with a painting and didn't want to stop. After a tense discussion, Lily had to put down her brushes. The frustration on her face during the entire walk was a clear window into her daily reality. Another day, I watched Lily sit idle, scrolling aimlessly on her phone, forced to pause her entire life because Mia was on a long work call. The relentless compromise was exhausting to witness, and I couldn't imagine living it for 26 years. I finally fully understood Lily's desperation. I could no longer avoid introducing them to my mother, who had been asking to meet them for months. I invited everyone to dinner at my mom's house. She was nervous but kind and respectful, asking thoughtful questions about their lives and treating them as individuals, not a curiosity. After dinner, while the twins were in the bathroom, my mom pulled me aside. "I can see why you love Mia," she said. Then her face grew serious. "But I'm worried about you. Have you really thought through what it would mean to spend your life in this situation?" I told her honestly that I didn't know anymore. She hugged me, saying she just wanted me to be happy, but she could see this was complicated in ways she'd never imagined. 3 weeks after submitting the appeal, Sarah called with news. I drove over immediately and found the twins on the couch, looking stunned. The insurance company had approved the appeal, but with strict conditions. They would cover the surgery only if the twins completed additional psychological evaluations to confirm they were making this decision freely and understood all the risks. Both sisters had to give explicit, written consent, and all their doctors had to sign off on their physical and mental readiness. The news sent shockwaves through the room. This was no longer theoretical. The surgery was now a real, tangible possibility. Mia went pale, her hands starting to shake as if the reality had just physically struck her. Lily began to cry, though I couldn't tell if it was from hope, fear, or both. "I can't believe it," she kept saying. After a long silence, Mia looked at Lily, her voice barely a whisper. "Are you really sure, now that it's real?" Lily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I'm sure, even though I'm terrified." Mia closed her eyes, took a deep, shuddering breath, and opened them. "Okay," she said. "Then we do it together." That night, I stayed late at their apartment. Lily spent an hour on the phone with Cadden in their bedroom, while Mia and I sat in a heavy silence in the living room. Finally, she turned to me, her voice fragile. "I don't know if I can actually go through with this." She described nightmares of the operating room, of waking up to find Lily gone, of something going horribly wrong and losing her sister forever. Her voice broke as she started to cry. I moved to hold her, telling her she didn't have to do this if she wasn't ready, that nobody could force her. But inside, I was terrified, too. The distant possibility had become a crushing reality. The additional psychological evaluations were more intense than anything before. The psychologist dug deep, asking Mia if she was agreeing out of guilt, and asking Lily if she had unrealistic expectations of independence. They emerged from each session looking emotionally ravaged. I picked them up after one appointment, and they were so drained they could only lean against each other in the passenger seat with their eyes closed. After 4 grueling sessions, they passed. The psychologist confirmed they understood the risks and were making this decision freely. 3 months after Lily's initial whispered confession, they asked me to come over. I drove to their apartment with my heart pounding, knowing this was it. They were sitting together on the couch, holding hands. Mia spoke first, her voice steady but her hands trembling. "We've made our choice. We're going to move forward with the separation surgery." She explained that even though she was terrified, she loved Lily too much to deny her this chance. "We've been connected our whole lives," she said, "and that bond will never break, no matter what happens in that operating room." Lily cried as Mia spoke. When Mia finished, Lily looked at her sister, her voice thick with emotion. "Thank you," she whispered. "I know how scared you are. I know how much courage this takes." The love between them was so powerful it made my chest ache. They were choosing to risk everything for each other. They scheduled the surgery for 6 weeks away. The following weeks were a blur of intense preparation. Dr. Ashlyn walked them through the surgical plan in meticulous detail, using diagrams to show how the separation would work and which sister would receive which portions of their shared organs. The anesthesiologist explained the challenges of putting them both under simultaneously. They signed shaky consent forms, acknowledging the risks in ink. With each passing day, the surgery drew closer. The fear grew stronger, but their resolve never wavered. They made a list of things to do together while still connected. We went to the Italian restaurant where they'd celebrated their 25th birthday, laughing sadly about the time a waiter asked if they wanted separate checks. We took a trip to the beach from their childhood, walking along the shore in their practiced rhythm. They spent an afternoon spread out on their living room floor, going through photo albums, pictures of them as babies in matching outfits, as teenagers at prom. They told stories, laughed, and cried, mourning the only life they'd ever known. Weeks before the surgery, Mia called me at 2 a.m., her voice shaking. I drove over to find them both awake and upset. Lily had broken down, terrified she was being selfish, that wanting her own life wasn't worth gambling both their lives. Mia held her sister's hand and, through her own tears, said something that stunned me. "Living the rest of our lives with you feeling trapped and angry would be its own kind of death. A slow one that would kill our relationship even if our bodies stayed alive." They held each other, and through the fear, their determination solidified. The night before the surgery, I stayed at their apartment. We tried to watch a movie but couldn't focus. We talked about everything and nothing, avoiding the unspoken dread of the morning. Around 3 a.m., Mia turned to me, her expression stark with fear. "What will you do if I don't make it through?" she asked. The question stole my breath. Finally, I promised I would make sure Lily was okay. Lily, hearing this, made me promise the same for Mia. Made those vows in the dark, the weight of them feeling like a tangible force in the room. We didn't sleep at all, just sat together watching the sky light, waiting for the sun to rise on the day that would change everything. The morning of the surgery, we drove to the hospital in a silence so profound it felt like its own presence. At the hospital, nurses helped them into surgical gowns and started IV lines. Dr. Ashlyn came in, dressed in scrubs, and went over the procedure one final time. I kissed Mia, my voice breaking as I told her I loved her. I squeezed Lily's hand and told her how brave she was. Then the nurses began wheeling their bed toward the operating room. I watched them go, still holding hands, still connected, until the doors swung shut behind them. Surgery took 14 hours. I waited with my mother, Luke, and the twins' parents in a room thick with dread. Every hour a nurse would give a vague update. The procedure was ongoing, both sisters were stable. I watched their mother pray silently, her fingers clutching a rosary. Guilt washed over me in relentless waves. If something went wrong, it would be partly my fault. At the 14-hour mark, Dr. Ashlyn emerged, her scrubs and face marked by the long ordeal. We clustered around her, desperate. "The surgery was successful," she said. "Both sisters have survived the separation." The room erupted in tears of relief, but Ashlyn held up a hand. Her expression remained grave. "They are both in critical condition. The next 72 hours are crucial. There is still a high risk of infection and organ failure." Nurse led me to the ICU. The sight of them stopped me in the doorway. They were in separate beds for the first time in their lives. Mia was closest, looking tiny and incomplete under the hospital blanket, tubes and monitors snaking around her. Lily was in the next bed, equally fragile. A few feet of space, an impossible, shocking chasm separated them. I went to Mia first, touching her hand carefully and whispering that I was there. Then I did the same for Lily, telling her she had been so brave. Looking at them apart felt like witnessing something both miraculous and terribly wrong. The first week was brutal. Mia spiked a dangerous fever that took 2 days to break. Lily would reach out in her sleep for her sister, waking confused and distressed by the empty space. I became their messenger, carrying updates between their rooms as they were too weak to see each other. By the second week, they started physical therapy. I watched Mia try to stand alone for the first time. Without Lily to coordinate with, she swayed and nearly fell, crying in frustration until the therapist caught her. In Lily's room, she managed 3 steps with a walker, her face lighting with pride before she immediately asked for someone to tell Mia. A month after the surgery, they were transferred to a rehabilitation facility. They had separate rooms but visited constantly. When I visited, I found them sitting together in Mia's room, learning how to be sisters without being conjoined. Mia told me the privacy felt strange. Lily said the independence was wonderful but lonelier than she had expected. 3 months post-surgery, they moved into their own apartments in the same building. Helping Mia move, I kept expecting to see Lily. The space felt too large, the silence unfamiliar. That evening, I tried to put my arms around Mia's waist, something I had never been able to do without Lily there. It felt wrong. Mia pulled away, tears in her eyes. "I'm not sure I can forgive you for encouraging this," she said. "Every time I look at you, I remember you were willing to risk my life for a normal relationship." I understood. She was right about my selfish motivations. Lily, meanwhile, threw herself into her new life. She enrolled in art classes, her walls covered in powerful paintings of separation and identity. Cadden visited, and she reveled in the privacy of their conversations. But she also confessed to feeling guilty for her happiness when Mia was still struggling. 4 months after the surgery, Mia met me at a coffee shop. She looked tired and sad. "I don't know if our relationship can survive the weight of how we got here," she said. She told me she loved me but couldn't be with someone who had encouraged her to risk her life. We agreed to take a break, and I walked out knowing I had probably lost her forever. 6 months later, I heard they were both doing well physically, though the emotional healing continued. They had dinner together twice a week. I learned Mia had started dating someone new, a woman who only knew her as an individual. Lily was accepted to art school. I was genuinely happy for them, even as I grieved. 8 months after the surgery, I saw them at a coffee shop. They came over to my table. Lily showed me photos of her paintings and talked excitedly about art school. Mia was cordial but distant, talking about her new relationship and her progress. Lily thanked me for supporting her, acknowledging that my motivations, while complicated, had given her the courage to push for the surgery. Mia's walls remained up, and I accepted that. When they left, I watched them walk toward the exit and then do something I had never witnessed. They split apart at the door. Mia turned left toward the parking garage, and Lily turned right toward the street. Seeing them go in separate directions for the first time in their lives felt like a physical blow. I sat alone with my cooling coffee, understanding the full cost of my choices. I had helped give them both the futures they wanted, but it had cost me the relationship I loved more than anything. The guilt and loss would stay with me, but so would the knowledge that sometimes love means supporting impossible choices, even when they change everything, even when they destroy you in the process.